All right, good evening. We'll call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to our June meeting. Before we get started this evening, we do want to take a brief moment of silence. We had a few recent members of the Athens school community that passed away over the past month. First, Bob Rogers, who was a teacher, Bob Sparazza, who was also a teacher, Gerald Spagnoli, and Brett Owen, who were both former school board members. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. We'll start this evening by reviewing and approving the meeting minutes from last month. This will be via unanimous consent. Do we have any questions or any input from the board on the meeting minutes? Okay, Christine, so they'll be approved. All right, next, we're going to adjourn for a brief executive session for our annual safety presentation. So we'll go back for that, and we'll be back at presentations momentarily. All right, thank you all. So we will now pick up with the presentations portion this evening. And Dr. Stage, we're going to start with you, I believe.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Big crowd tonight. Thank you for coming. And I just wanted to take a couple minutes to maybe set the table for Tracy, who's going to present the final budget to you all tonight. And there was a lot of questions out there in our community, and I thought it would be great to take a couple moments and maybe just try to be as transparent and honest and answer those questions to the best of our ability. I think one of the things I see on social media, which is a social media is a pro and a con, I'll be honest with everybody, and we're going to address some of those things that we read and saw out there. So a lot of the times people said, what did we do wrong? It wasn't anything that we did wrong. It was, and I'll say this again, ESSER funding was a huge one-time expenditure that allowed us to supplement our revenue, to help us pay for salaries and all the things that we needed to do over a period of time. In 2024, 2025, that ended, and that's where we had to face the reality that increasing costs, which were exceeding our revenues, created a real situation for us where we had to make some tough decisions in both last year and this year's budget. Our fund balance has been declining over those course of years. I think the school board did everything they could to protect the community during the most difficult time during COVID and shortly after with the uncertain economic times. I would not describe that as what we did wrong. I think the financial conditions changed over time. There was no mismanagement. There was no misrepresentation of money. These were the things that we've been trying to talk about for a long time, that we had to stop kicking the can and start facing the reality. One person on Facebook said, if your budget is 68% is salaries and benefits, why didn't you cut staff? Just to be honest with everybody, over the last 2 years, we've lost over 12 teachers and several support staff members. So we have addressed that, and that is one thing that we have to do over years. We can't cut salaries, as one person suggested. Those are all dictated by the contract, the CBAs that we all agree to be a part of. Why are salaries and benefits still increasing if we're making those cuts? That's because salary increases and healthcare increases still outpace the cuts that we made over time. Declining enrollment should be able to reduce teachers one-for-one. We have seen a decline in our enrollment, specifically in our kindergarten enrollments over the last 3 years, and we will be addressing that later this evening. But I think the thing is just because you lose 10 kids doesn't mean you equally lose one teacher. And I think that's an important topic to make clear. The district should offer early retirements to reduce high-paid teachers. I think that's a tough question to answer. Any incentive that creates a savings in costs might create a long-term cost depending on what incentive you give. So you have to be careful about that. And that's also something that has to be negotiated between the board and the collective bargaining groups, and just simply can't make them do it or make them take those offers. The other question was the board should ask for salary freezes. Again, we are bound by contracts that we have agreed upon, and we are bound to raise salaries as dictated within those contracts. To go back, we'd have to renegotiate, and there could be some more things that have to be dictated out of that. That is something that has to happen between the board and this collective bargaining groups again. One, just for clarification, a lot of people like to claim that administrators are overpaid and they are the driving problem on the budget. I understand that people see salaries like mine and they have a reaction. I get that. I sometimes look at my job and think, there seems like a lot of money for someone who spends so much time answering emails, attending meetings, and delivering bad news. But at the same time, salary alone doesn't tell the whole story. Our teachers are paid very well. They're compensated very fairly, but they work a 187-day contract. Our assistant principals work 220 days, and our other administrators work 260 days. And to make this real and know that they're not overpaid or not paid more than anyone else, the average daily rate for a teacher is between $373 at the low end and $556 per day on the high end. And the average administrator daily rate is $331 per day on the low end, and at the high end it's $656, which is me. The highest paid teacher in our district is $104,000, and our principal and administrator salary ranges between $96,000 and $113,000. So just for context, the average teacher salary in Pennsylvania was $79,000 in 2024 and 2025, and the average principal salary in the state of Pennsylvania as of May of 2026 was $106,000. I just want to make sure that everyone understands that there isn't one group that is driving the budget greater than the other. One other clarification I'd like to make. Many people online said that teachers are just glorified babysitters. I'll be honest with you, that really pisses me off. Apologize. But teachers are skilled professionals. They work very hard at what they do every day. It's not simply just watching your children. They're planning instruction, teaching content, assessing student understanding, adjusting lessons, and creating a safe space for them to work and live in when they're with us for 7+ hours a day. To say that they're a glorified teacher or glorified babysitter is an insult, and I don't take kindly to that, and I think those are one of those words that I just can't tolerate. When they have to take degrees, they have to get master's degrees if they're in the district for more than 4 years, and they work very, very hard in very difficult environments, and in an environment that's only going to get more challenging. The district should cut sports. Just to be honest with everybody, we cut over $100,000 in athletic budgets this year. This does not mean athletics are exempt from future review. They are not. Transportation, supplies, equipment, scheduling, participation, and staffing should all be continually reviewed, but eliminating sports is not a simple answer. It's a one-time expenditure. It doesn't address the structural challenges that we're facing and our budgetary challenges. It is a one-time saving. If the standard is that we cut anything outside the classroom, and I want people to understand, if we cut anything outside the classroom, then we should not just talk about sports. We should talk about any clubs, music activities, dramas, government activities, clubs, FFA, Science Olympiad, FBLA, field trips, and any other broader student experience where they can gain, develop as a whole person and develop skills that happen to develop them as a citizen outside of the classroom. With declining enrollment, the district should need fewer buses or bus drivers. We are always rerouting based upon our population. The district profits when students enroll in cyber charter schools. I've been seeing a lot of that lately. Our cyber charter school tuition bill has risen from $789,000 in 2020-21 to $1.4 million in 2024-25. Now, through a lot of effort of people outside of me, we have reduced the number of students enrolled in cyber charter schools, and I thank them for that. When a student enrolls in cyber charter school, the district is required to pay the tuition to the cyber charter school. Some people claim the district profits because not every dollar district spending follows the money, follows the student. They leave out a very important part of the story. Schools' costs do not disappear one student at a time. For example, if you have a family of 5 and one of them leaves the house, does your budget automatically be reduced by 20%? No. Grocery bills may go down some, your mortgage stays the same, your electricity usually stays the same, your water bill may go down depending on how many showers they take or how long their showers are, but you still have to maintain the buildings, you still have to keep the lights on, and you still have to keep the buses running. Students can leave one at a time. School costs do not disappear one at a time. This does not mean we blame those families, and I will never do that. Families make choices for many reasons. Some students may need a different model. Some families choose online because of academic, social, health, scheduling, or personal reasons. Those students are still children in our community, and I respect them for that. But the financial impact is real. The district pays tuition to cyber charter schools while still maintaining most of the fixed costs of the school system for students who remain. And the fact that some cyber charter school students still get the benefit from some of those things that still remain. Keeping some money is not the same as making money when the bills are still there. The district should use the fund balance instead of raising taxes. If there was enough fund balance to do so, I would recommend that, but there simply isn't. And that is why we're here today, and that is why Tracy is now going to present the final budget. But before we do so, a sincere thank you to Tracy, Mary Ellen, Corey, the administrative team, Kyle in the back sitting there, for their hard work to get to where we are this day. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Stage. Tracy?
Okay. All right. You each have a copy of the budget there in front of you. So I'm going to be quick tonight because we shared a lot of details in May, but in May, the board approved the preliminary budget. Tonight, on the agenda is the final budget for the 26-27 school year. So if we look back in May when I presented, I started the presentation off basically giving you the why and the how the district went from a $1.3 million surplus in the 23-24 school year to a deficit in years later. I shared the process and all the changes that we did this year when we, worked and developed the 26-27 budget, including all the zero-based budgeting approach. So I'm not going to present that again tonight. It's been presented. What I'm going to do tonight is just walk you through the changes that happened since May when you approved the preliminary to the final budget tonight. Okay? If you also recall, in May, I told you that I kind of look at May being the bigger month of when the budget gets approved because you can't do significant changes between May and June. So you can't cut programs, you can't furlough additional staff, you can't raise taxes higher than what you approved in May. You can make changes that aren't like substantive, but nothing that's very impactful, I'll say, to programs and people. So if you look at your first slide tonight, I guess I'll say page 2. So in May, the budgeted loss that I presented was $1,520,037. Unfortunately, I have to say that our deficit got worse in a month, so we're looking at a deficit of $1,642,009. There were things both going increases and decreases to the budget, but overall, the main reasons, I'll pinpoint it to 2 things, increased benefit costs, or I'll say in May we had open enrollment, and it was the different plans that the employees elected that caused it. In addition, we had a couple custodial staff who resigned that had a cheaper plan. I had to budget for like a family plan just in case it's needed. So those costs could come over, but our overall health insurance or our benefits increasing about $50,000 from what I presented last month. And then a replacement water heater, which I'll get into. So on the revenue side, the things that changed since May was we did get our final assessed values from the county. They did go up since May, but it's only getting us about an additional $10,000 in revenues. I did add $100,000 in medical access revenues. So medical access is federal funding. In May, I had not put anything in there because in this school year, we have $200,000 budgeted to use of medical access funding, and in May, our balance was just over $200,000 in that account of what we could pull down. The district had used about $1 million like 2 to 3 school years ago, and so there's not a lot of funding there for me to use. Believe it or not, just last week we finalized our final funding report of what medical access revenue we're going to get from the 24-25 school year, which amounted to about $140,000. So I decided that we'll budget to use 100 of that 140. I'd like to leave a little bit out there just in case. So I added $100,000 in revenue for medical access. And then on the agenda tonight is our IDEA funding, so that's funding that you get for special education. And I had budgeted last month to be flat with what we're getting this year, but our allocation's going down about $37,000. So those were really the main changes from May to June on the revenue side. On the expense side, we had another teacher retire at the high school. The position was evaluated as we had told the board and the community we would look at any position when someone resigns or retires, and that is not being replaced. So that was a reduction of almost $150,000 in the budget. But unfortunately, on the other side, we have 2 sabbaticals next year that are going to equate to a full school year. It works out, one's in the fall, one's in the spring. And so we had to add to the budget to have a full-time, basically long-term substitute to cover that position. So I had to add those dollars in the budget, which was about $134,000. So they kind of net each other, a little bit more of a savings, but not the full. I mentioned the health insurance plan changes. Again, May is open enrollment, so the last couple of weeks we've been noting all the changes in what plan choice employees are taking, with what their premiums are, and that impacts, the overall budget depending on what they choose. I did miss this. So there is our retirement incentive in most of the contracts where if someone retires and they qualify, they can be paid a retirement incentive and be paid out unused sick and personal time. I didn't have anything in the budget for that. So I wanted to get something added. That was an overlook on my part. So I added $75,000. It's a complete estimate. I have no idea who will retire and may qualify for that. And then a couple of smaller things. We had a few of the ViewSonic boards, like what you see, that might even, that's just a television. In our classrooms are these ViewSonic boards that are used for the teachers for education, and there's a couple broken. And so we've got a couple that need to be replaced, so I added a couple dollars in the budget to fix those. And then also bus cameras. We have one bus that we know we need to replace. Mr. Mosier and I, again, thought we have nothing in the budget for any replacement cameras in case something else happens, so we're going to budget for 4 total just in case. We know we have one. We won't spend the money for the other 3 unless it's needed. And then just today, we were basically found out that the water heater at the high school cannot be fixed and it's going to have to be replaced, and it's an expensive price tag of just about $50,000. So I have in the budget a budget for unknown repairs, but $50,000 and it's not even July 1st makes me nervous. And so I said we've got to add that in just so I can have that dollar for any other repair that may happen. So I made that change today to the budget. So those are the big things. There are a lot of little things too. We've been getting quotes in for the new school year, so we always look to see what we've got in the budget. It may be $500, $1,000, but we've been making and just looking at everything since May. Any questions on that? So that's really the main things that caused the change of $121,972. Okay. So if you flip. So really the remaining slides that I have are information that I shared in May, but I wanted you to see it again. So total revenues are budgeted at $47,262,473. So we are going up about $2.1 million. It does include, again, increases in real estate taxes to the Act 1 index, which is 5.1%. So there is no change from May with what was presented. And then the main changes in the revenues is, again, the medical access revenue of $100,000, and that's budgeted in the federal revenue. Okay. So next slide, again, just shows you on the revenue side, so we get about 55% of our revenues from state, 43% from local, and just 2% from federal. So when you're not getting a big increase in your state, it's hard to keep up with, the increased expenses in salaries and benefits that we see every year. Next slide. So starting with the expenses. So again, I'll point out salaries and benefits are about 69% of our total budget. So it's hard to reduce expenses without really impacting staffing. And so we took a hard look at all of our staffing, all of our expenses, and we made changes where we could, as we shared a lot of the details last month. But it's difficult to really make an impact to the bottom line without making changes within your staff.
Tracy?
Yeah.
I think our increase in salary and benefits from last year to this year is about $976,000.
Correct.
How much are we going to net by going to the index?
It was, hang on a second, I think it was about $800,000.
That's raising to the Act 1 index.
Correct.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
Yep. So I'll just point out, like, last month we had shared that we had reduced 6 teaching positions, and I've updated that for the one that we added since May, so we're actually reducing by 7 teaching positions this next school year. Remaining expenses, next slide, so total 15,355,836. Not a lot of change since May. The main thing is just the high school water heater, the $50,000. Other than that, very small changes from what I had presented last year. So if you look, we only increased in all the other expenses $104,000. So if you just think about what our utility, our electrical budget had to increase with raising rates there, like, we really did do a thorough review of all of our expenses, eliminating, curriculum programs that we use. We evaluated everything and still offering something, but just maybe not offering as many. And on the supply side, Dr. Stajan mentioned we reduced athletic budget by $100,000. That took a lot of review, looking what expenses, what we pay for, and making those tough decisions. So next slide, you saw this in May as well, but if you take then our salaries, our benefits, and our debt. So we obviously are, we have to pay what our debt amortization schedules say. That's not a budget that I can reduce. It's fixed. So if you take those 3, our budget then is 76%, just in those 3 categories. So there's not a lot of left in other areas that you can trim to, make your deficit. So now if we pull it all together, revenues less expense, we're looking at a budgeted loss of $1,642,009. And I'll point out again, like, last year's budgeted loss was $2,759,000, so we improved by $1.1 million. So still may not look great, but a lot was done to reduce where we were a year ago. Next slide. Again, it just kind of touches upon the bigger things, not filling 7 teaching positions. We eliminated 4 part-time paraprofessional positions, but had to add 1 full-time. We eliminated building-based subs. The district will no longer pay for graduation gowns, both for staff and students. We're not renewing our contract with Penn York. We eliminated 3 postage machines. We reduced our athletics budget, including eliminating our contract with Friends with Fitness, I believe that is. We looked at field trip transportation. We reduced building budgets. We're taking a different approach with our technology hardware plan, where grades K to 5 aren't going to have a complete one-to-one device. So what that saves is your budgeted expense for replacing all that hardware. So there were significant savings there. We reduced our number of curriculum subscriptions, financial subscriptions. Students now pay for summer school and also AP tests next year. I had missed noting the AP test, but it was budgeted. And then this is the first summer where we've increased our summer rec registration fees. So a lot of things that we looked at as we developed the budget. So I want to point out again, just so everyone knows that, like, we still have a long ways to go. Just with what we did this year, like, our financial situation, our problem, it's not solved. And so we're going to continue to look at that. I am, again, still recommending, even though I don't want to, a 5.1% increase in taxes and taking it to the index. The main reason why is that our fund balance. So even if we have a budgeted loss of 1.6 million, if we see the loss that was budgeted in this year and then again in next year, our fund balance could be down to about $2.5 million, which it's, not even like, just over 5% of what our budget expenses are. So I like to have a fund balance that will at least cover you if there's no state budget, that you can continue to run without taking a tran or a loan to just meet payroll. And so it's nervous to just have a fund balance of $2.5 million because on average, our bills can easily be $3 million a month. So, okay. And the next slide just shows you again where our fund balance is as of June 30, 2025. So we're about 6.9 million. If we see the budgeted loss that's budgeted of 2.7, we'll be down to 4.1. If we have the loss for the 26-27 budget of 1.6, we'll be down to 2.5. So the work isn't done, and that's what Dr. Stage has been saying and will continue to say. Is there any questions? No?
Thank you. All right, next we'll move on to committee reports. The only committee I believe we have reporting out this evening is the extracurricular.
All right.
It's coming up later.
Good.
Yep. Yep.
All right, extracurricular committee, we met last week. Covered several items. We went over the spring coaches evaluations. Went over the accomplishments that our spring sports had. Baseball and softball both won NTL titles. I believe it was back-to-back for both of them. They both advanced to districts. Baseball lost in the district final to a tough Montoursville team. Softball lost in the district semifinal. The softball team, they had the injury bug hit them this year, I guess, right there towards the end of the season. Track and field, they were both represented well at the NTL and district meet. Graham Wank won the district title in the 1600 and qualified for states, and then I believe Abby Burgess also qualified for the state meet. We also hit on the community use of the school facilities policy. Adjusted a few things that'll get sent to the personnel and policy, and then we'll go from there. That's all I have.
Thank you. So next we have the superintendent's items and reports. Dr. Stage.
I'll be talking at the end.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Career Center, Mr. Johnson.
So Career Center did not have a meeting last month. We did hold the graduation. It was excellent to watch Athens Athens to represent. We had quite a few kids getting quite a few awards. I think they wrapped up most of the awards for the Northern Career Center when I was looking at it, so it was very impressive. They did a good job. We will be having a meeting this Thursday, is our end of the year, but nothing was last week, and that's all I have to comment on.
Thank you. And then finally, PSBA, Ms. Smart. Okay, no updates this evening. Okay, so that brings us over to solicitor's items and reports. Mr. Barrett.
We continued working on what I reported on last meeting with some right to know requests and some decisions we received in complying with those requirements. The Lowe's appeal is still in process. The county has withdrawn one of their motions to dismiss, so we are waiting for another pretrial. I think the case might have got lost in the shuffle, but it'll show up here as of next month. I'll probably file another request for another year, and I'll keep you advised of that. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Next, that brings us to our first visitor comment section. This section is for visitor comments and board action items only. Do we have any visitor comments this evening? Okay. So next, first item on the agenda here for voting action is the final budget. Do we have a motion and a second for the final budget?
So moved. Second.
Okay, so this is the budget that Ms. Gilland just reviewed for us. So a reminder, it's the 2026-2027 budget at $47,262,473, which is a 2.9 mil tax increase, and it's 5.1%, which is the Act 1 index. Any questions or any input from the board before we vote on that item? Okay, Christine?
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Cheresnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
And Mr. White?
Yes.
Okay, next, we have financial business. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Okay, so we have our normal items under this section, which is the listing of the bills, the general fund checks, our cafeteria bills, our earned income tax report, our secretary treasurer report, our student activity accounts for the middle school and the high school for the last couple months. We also have the homestead, farmstead exclusion resolution for this upcoming tax year, the Conrad Siegel valuation, to appoint Klasick and Associates to audit the financials for the 25-26 school year, and then the year-end budget transfer resolution. Dr. Sage, anything you'd like to add on any of those items?
No, they're all pretty standard. We do these each year, and Klasick has been a good partner with us for auditing, so we're happy with that. And Conrad Siegel, that's just part of our insurance consortium, making sure that we stay on right terms, right? No? That's new? I was close. Oh, that's right. They have to, yeah. They have to prepare the employee benefits for the audit. Sorry.
Okay.
I knew that.
Thank you, Dr. Sage. Any questions from the board on any of those items in financial business? Okay, Christine?
Mr. Cheresnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
And Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Bless you. All right, next, personnel items. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so this evening we have our personnel listing, as well as a summer school memo. The personnel listing is quite long, so we have several support resignations, support staff recalls, professional retirement, various summer stipends, as well as a volunteer, several updates to the athletic contracts, athletic volunteers, support staff transfers, and professional transfers. But that looks like that's maybe for the latter part, so.
I have a question.
Yep.
18 lifeguards?
They don't all work at the same time. I think it's just a pool of lifeguards that are available, and there's so many that you use per number of people in the pool. So they're not all working at the same time.
They're just lifeguarding? They're not doing swim lessons? Like,
I have no clue. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't know if they do lifeguard. I don't know if they do swim lessons. They do? No, thank you for nodding. I don't know. I know they're lifeguards. I know they don't all work at the same time. And they only work based on the number of students that are in the pool at that time. So I know it's a lot of them, but it doesn't cost us any more or less money. Yeah, yeah.
Shifts.
And it's almost year round too, with all the parties we host and like swim lessons, but also like any event we have to have a lifeguard at.
Okay, and then for any other questions on the personnel before we cover the summer school memo?
yeah, I just want to thank the soccer coaches because they've drastically downsized their volunteer coaches as well. I'm not sure why all these coaches, volunteers need to be on the sidelines. So that's just putting that out there. A lot of volunteer coaches on the sidelines. I don't understand the necessity for those. I guess, if anyone knows the reason.
Also, sorry if I missed it, but I don't see the football coaches on here. Is that, did we already vote on that last month? Or is there a reason why we don't have?
For fall, we don't have
For
the
fall.
fall football coaches? Did we already approve those?
Well, I see we got volunteers, but I don't see.
What's that?
Did we already vote on that?
Why,
No, all of them. The football coaches were pulled. No?
We didn't get any names. That's what, I guess.
No
We weren't
names.
given any names.
All right, then,
Well, we'll meet in July,
so if there's any updates, or what, those to July?
most likely.
Okay. So then,
can we find out why we need all the volunteer coaches? So if we have a head coach and an assistant coach, what are all the
what's the
volunteer-
concern? They don't cost us any money, is there just a concern?
I know,
with
but
it?
it's, okay, never mind then.
No, I'm
I'm
just-
just questioning
yeah.
the reasoning of having so many volunteer coaches.
I mean, I don't want to speak on behalf of the coaches, I just know, like, sometimes you need more than just a couple, right, that to help out. I'm sure that coaches could answer it for us, but I know for the sports that my kids participate in, it's good to have a few extra.
Some
Arms
are
and legs around just
filming,
to help
some
them out.
are on the sidelines keeping stats, right? I mean, there's like, you know, there's several different reasons, I think, why there's more than just 2 or 3 coaches for a sport.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's just not dads wanting to be on the sideline.
And not that I've seen, at least for the.
Okay. That's all, thank you.
Okay, so in addition to the personnel listing, we also have the summer school memo. Dr. Sage, could you summarize that memo for us, please?
I certainly can. These are the teachers that are going to be taking on the courses for summer school. That is the time they'll be working. Summer school did start yesterday. Today's Monday, today. So we may have started them already, but some of them were already approved. We had some spots to fill at the late notice so that we could offer the summer school courses. So that's why you'll see some of them without an asterisk that need approved for tonight. But this is what we got for teaching staff this year. Teaching and support staff.
Thank you. Any additional questions on those 2 items? Yeah, so we'll do the first vote will be on, for the personnel listing, we'll remove D&E off the personnel listing. We'll do those as a separate
Sorry,
vote.
Michael, I need
Yep.
to also, can we pull out D as well?
D? Yeah, we're going to pull out D. So
D
you-
and E.
Yes, D
Okay,
and D?
okay.
Is that- okay.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so this first vote will be for the personnel listing, A, B, C, F, and G, as well as the summer school memo. When you're ready, Christine.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes,
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Cheresnowski?
Yes. Okay, so next we'll do for personnel, letters D and E.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
yes,
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Abstain.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Cheresnowski?
I abstain.
And Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Thank you. Next brings us to contracts and agreements. Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Okay. So we have our copier, fax business technologies, 1-year agreement, our Empire Access, Internet Access Agreement, Guthrie Medical Group, Professional Medical Services, Robert Packer Hospital, Sports Medicine Services Agreement, our BLAST Intergovernmental Agreement for Shared Special Education Services, our BLAST Voice over IP Services Agreement, our Bradford Tioga Head Start Memorandum of Understanding, our Northern Tier Regional Planning and Development Commission, MOU, our Concern Referral Agreement, and our Blast IDEA Agreement. Dr. Sage, anything on those that you would want to summarize?
No, just quickly, there is a distinction between the Guthrie Medical Group and Robert Packer. Guthrie Medical Group Professional Medical Services is for like physicals and evaluations for doctors to come in to perform those. We have to do those at certain grade levels, and then we also offer sports physicals. And the Robert Packer agreement is for our athletic trainer. I just want to make sure everybody knows that there's a little bit of a difference there. And also, we've had a longstanding relationship with Bradford Taglia Head Start so that we can offer pre-K and Head Start services in our building.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on those items? Okay, Christine?
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Czerniawski?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
And Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Thank you. All right, we have nothing for policies nor curriculum this evening, so that'll bring us over to transportation. A motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have one vehicle upgrade request and then one update to the driver's list. I did have one question on that, Dr. Sage. I see that the first one is a busing update and it says kids in Canton. What does that mean?
So, Mr. Mosier, help me, but I think we have to pick up kids in Canton and bring them here. Yeah, under McKinney-Vento. Yeah. So when you are under the McKinney-Vento, which is basically the Homeless Act, we are required for transporting if under the best interest determination, it is determined that they still attend our school district, it is our requirement to transport them. So
Okay.
that's probably what that is. And also, this was part of, I think with DOM relinquishing some of their routes due to insurance? No? Okay. Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Meyer.
Thank you.
Is that bus already, did it finish her year with us? Because it says we'll be in service starting May 1.
Yeah, it was retroactive because of the kids having to be picked up in Canton, so.
Any additional questions?
And that's going to continue next year, or is that just the end of the year this year?
Right. Most likely they will enroll where in the district they live in, reside now, but when you're under McKinney-Vento, you have to do that for at least a school year, and it could be longer depending on when you go through a bid process, which is complicated. It could still be determined that they have to attend our school district, but I think that they are finding some housing, and I think that's really the key. So,
Finding housing.
yeah. We usually work pretty well with other school districts in sharing that responsibility. Sometimes you just can't work it out.
Okay, we'll go for a vote, Christine?
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Czerniawski?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
And Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Okay, next, do we have a motion and a second for buildings and grounds?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have one item here this evening, which is the power pay contract. Any questions from the board on anything there? Okay, Christine?
Mr. Owen?
Yes.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
Yes.
Mr. Czerniawski?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
And Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
Okay, next, we have a couple items in the other section. Do we have a motion and a second for other?
So moved. Second.
Okay, in this section, we have the Athens Area School District Safety Committee bylaws, and we also have an item here for the junior high athletics roster size memo.
Is there a reason why we're capping it?
Dr. Stage, on the,
Question?
Junior high sports.
yeah, the junior high sports roster cap.
Do I know anything about that?
Yeah, can you give some backgrounds on it?
I think the biggest, I did not attend the extracurricular meeting, and maybe Dustin can fill me in if I miss a gap, but I did get a bit of a summary. I think the idea is that our junior high programs are getting so large, they're becoming not a place of learning and growth and development. And I think at the end of the day, putting caps on that does two things. It helps develop student athletes appropriately and allow them accurate opportunities to grow, both physically and mentally, but also to the fact that we just can't continue to staff it. It's becoming a situation where we're getting 30 or 40 kids for 2 coaches, and it's becoming a bit of a safety issue in that situation. So I think the committee met, and in their discussion, they wanted to set caps so that it's still productive time.
I think the recommendations were from the various varsity coaches, also the numbers.
Oh, okay.
But I think also the like the number, the cap, it wasn't, set as in stone. There was
Right.
supposed to be somewhat flexible.
Right.
Because like they're like, well,
This feels
if
pretty
there's
solid.
a couple of kids more, like, well,
So it's not black, it's more gray cap.
yeah.
Right, okay.
But
So
it
can
was,
we change the wording in that then? Because it seems pretty,
yeah, it does seem
Pretty
set
firm.
in stone, I know.
what does
That's
that
right.
mean? That's the issue.
Yeah. Like, you know, you get like,
Because you're also then gonna hurt your program, potentially, for JV and varsity then, if you're,
Are we seeing, like, with any of these programs, where this would significantly reduce kids who are signing up and playing? I mean, are we talking about, like, half the students that are currently signing up would now no longer be able to be on those teams, or?
Is the AD here? Can he talk more on it?
I think the conversation that I've had a bunch of side conversations, but I think part of that conversation was also there's still opportunities for those students to participate in our community programs as well. So while the junior high programs might have caps, there's still other opportunities for them to participate, I
So
think.
there's community programs for all these sports?
Oh, boy. Maybe not. Yeah, I actually think there might be. There's travel volleyball. There's a youth volleyball program now. There's basketball, football, youth football, Little League, ASA, Valley, soccer. Maybe the only thing I think would be there's a limitation in my mind is probably track and cross country. Am I missing any of those other sports?
Track and cross country are on here.
Yeah, they're not on there.
Yeah.
I mean, the thought behind it is, we had 40 junior high baseball players last year, and this year we had 18. And we had a lot of good ball players not come out for junior high baseball because they didn't get anything out of their season. And then as a district, it just kind of seems like, we have 40 kids for 2 coaches. Like, how can we expect the coaches to get anything done? That's, and, with the sports listed, those numbers, like Chris had said, those numbers came from what the varsity coaches were recommending, a roster size.
I'm not a soccer person, so help me out here. Is it just our league that is junior high co-ed, or is it the state that is junior high co-ed in soccer?
There are other leagues that do boys and girls, but we're typically, because the NTL is so small, we typically only do co-ed. Right. We don't offer male and female. We have tried to do that in the past, and because our league is so small and we're in such a rural area, we had one year where we had mainly a girls team and then a boys team for junior high, but the girls only participated and played against mixed teams, and it did not turn out to be a productive event for them, because we were the only team that could field an all-girls and an all-boys team.
Because I'm struggling here. I see junior high baseball 26. That's a great number, yes. Junior high co-ed soccer 34. My concern would be that since it's co-ed, the girls will be the ones getting cut.
I think I think currently in Cody, I think you saw some of the registration numbers were sitting at like 15, 16 kids signed up for junior high. Soccer at the moment, 15. So I don't know if that cap will be met And I think Dustin made a good point, like, or Chris, I think we made the point, like, if there's 40, right, I do think that we have to make sure our coaches do try to keep it balanced between boys and girls.
I mean, I'd be fine with the rest of the numbers except for the soccer. So I'm trying to figure out how to vote
Thank
on
you.
that one.
I don't like the language. It's very capped. I don't like that. I don't like the way it's
Yeah, because it's to limit the roster size. I agree with you, John.
I think you're saying, John, maybe it's more like a range, or it's,
Yeah.
it's
based
situational.
on
I think
situational.
recommended
I mean,
size or something, you know,
Correct.
like not the limit. This
And
is
when
the
you start
recommended.
putting
But then gives
caps on
the-
stuff, then it's,
the ability to,
If
Yeah.
you,
no, I agree with you. I just,
Yeah, but it's,
I mean,
but if you had 21, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying, Dustin?
we have to understand where a lot of our problems come from too, right? If you have a roster of 40 and you have 3 teams. I mean, I believe last year
lived
we
it,
had
yeah.
4. We had a black and a silver soccer team with an A and a B built inside of that, and like no other school has that. We're losing female soccer players. They're not playing the co-ed. They're playing other leagues. That's. And there's caps. I mean, there's caps in other extracurriculars. There's caps in Science Olympiad. There's caps. I mean, in the Athens AWIBA, there's caps in that, or cuts. You know, when they go to their NTO league, Little League has cuts in it. It's real life.
Well, believe me, I am definitely not a trophy person, but the co-ed one is the only one I'm first.
John, did you want to see some updated verbiage on that?
I would just like, I mean, I know what Dustin's saying, I've lived it with my kids, I get it. Once you start putting in like a board policy with that, it's very final. You know what I mean, if you get one kid with 21 or something like that, Dustin, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, I think a range would be.
In the in the extracurricular meeting, I believe we talked that there could be a special provision.
Yeah.
So if that wording has to go in there, then.
Yeah,
I think when you start putting
I
limit.
think it was coach discretion,
Yeah,
actually.
it was, because we actually talked, we had I guess a citizen who's also a coach come to the meeting and was talking about that, and that was said, well, you know, what do you have for a roster, as somebody that has experience in varsity sports, JV sports, junior high sports, and, you know, they were saying, well, this is ideal number. I said, okay, but what if 2 extra kids come out? Are you gonna eliminate those? No, I said, certainly not. You know, talk to the families, talk to the players, make certain you're open and honest about playing time, but you would certainly want to include them. And I said, yeah, that's what we would want to do as
Yeah,
well.
I just think the language with that piece of it, saying that, Chris, would be helpful in it. You know, I mean, once you put a limit on there, I think people 3 years from now, they're gonna read it. Let's limit 20 people, that's it.
Sure.
And if you have different administration, different ADs and different things like that, people are gonna read it that way, as this is our policy of
is this a
limiting.
plan to do this every year? Because I see it as just for 2026, 2027.
I think with the reorganizing of all of the sports and cutting back,
yeah, I think when you talk
It's
about you've
moving
reduced
forward.
the coaching staff in some sports like football, I think the idea was to just make sure that we'd right-size ourselves, you know, all the way up through. So I think, you know, not just 1 or 2 varsity sports feeling the pain. I think the junior high teams need to feel the same sort of, like, you know, restructuring. So
I'm not saying I don't agree with the numbers.
no,
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think you've made very valid points. I think the recommendation probably might be to either pass it tonight or send it back and we can rephrase some of that stuff. Whatever you guys
What
prefer.
if we did a motion that we amended it that would say that the administration is requesting an approval of recommended roster sizes of those following, with discretion of the coach to increase those, not make smaller, but to
Yeah.
increase those
Yeah.
sizes.
I can agree with that.
And do we also want to say where it says the 26-27 school year, do we say starting? It's implying this is from here on out, right? This is not just for the next school year, right? 'Cause it says
All
junior
of
high.
our changes take
Says
effect
effective
with
that
the
date.
26-27 school
So
year.
this is to imply this is from here on out, not just for the 26-27
Yeah,
school year.
this is gonna be a path moving forward versus just for just 1 year.
Dustin, did the girls soccer coach, Richard Pitts, was he asked about this? Is he okay with that number?
I'm not, I don't know.
Yeah, Rich and Travis both.
Is the AD here?
Yeah, he's in
Yeah,
the back.
he's there.
I keep looking back there. He's back there. Yeah, Rich and Travis both kind of conferred on this. And they actually met with Craig Kopatz, who is the junior high coach.
Okay. I would add, let's, in a year from now, let's take a look at it again and see how it works then
Yeah,
as well.
got to give it a try.
So we'll add the verbiage in as Chris recommended. Do we need to make that we'll just agree to it here and then, so that what we're voting on is the amended language? Yep. Yep.
You have that, Christine?
Yeah. Well, to play back there.
I did.
I'll second it.
All right. You said it so well, Chris, you can say it again. Wait.
No, I can't remember what I said. A motion to amend the language, we would approve the whatever this vote, with the amended language as follows. The administration is requesting approval to recommend the roster sizes for the junior high athletic teams listed below, effective with the 26-27 school year. And as with those particulars, do I have to read the whole thing?
And then
And
with
with discretion for the coach to increase those size, not limit them less than those sizes as listed.
Yep, thank you. The only thing I would add is looking at it again in a year from now, seeing how successful it is, or if we need any changes.
You can always,
Yep, that we can revisit anytime. Okay, so we have the motion, we have the second.
Yep.
Any other questions on that before we go for vote?
So we're approving this.
With the amendment.
With the
Yeah,
amendment?
With the amendment.
Okay,
correct, Yes.
okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go for a vote. So this is the vote on 16 other, which includes the roster size memo we just talked about, as well as the Athens Area School District Safety Committee bylaws. So when you are ready, Christine.
Mrs. Smart?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Bishop?
yes.
Mr. Sherrusnowski?
Yes.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnick?
Yes.
And Mr. Owen?
Yes. Okay, that brings us to the end of our voting business for this evening. So next we are over to a additional presentation from Dr. Stage, which is in response to the board resolution that we passed last month with regards to future plans to address our budget situation.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. So I do have a PowerPoint. I did print that out for you guys. I do think everyone here, I did try to print enough copies. If you need a copy. And also for anyone that's watching online, I was not able to attach it to the YouTube link, but I will do so after the fact so that you can see it. Because I can see online, I was checking, it's quite a glare and you're not going to see much. So if you could just listen along, that'd be great. First of all, I just want to extend a thank you to the board for bringing this resolution forward. I think it was a very difficult thing to do because what you're asking to do tonight is plan for the future, not just as individuals, but as a whole district. And before I get too far down, I have to extend some thank yous to people that helped me. Tracy for helping me gather some of the financial information through our audits, our AFRs and all those. So thank you, Tracy, for gathering that information. Mary Ellen, thank you for gathering a lot of enrollment data, working through a lot of research that probably you never thought you'd have to do. Mr. Moser, thank you for gathering and educating me on student services. Kyle, I see you back there still. Thank you for giving me updated information about our buildings and our maintenance needs over the previous years. So all the information and data that I gathered was stuff that we already had on hand or easily accessible online. and can be validated through numerous sources. So that's why I said the last month that we did not need to go into a lengthy study, because this information is easily accessible. So to get started, I don't want everyone to think that tonight is about one building alone. It's about planning for our whole district. The goal, I think if I read the resolution correctly, was to protect the student experience, what we consider a Wildcat education, and the long-term health of the Athens area school district. I think it's pretty plainly stated that this is going to be a very difficult conversation, but it's also one that's very timely. For the past several years, we've watched our fund balance dwindle. We've watched our increases exceed our ability to generate revenue, and we need to right-size ourselves and prepare ourselves for a future, not just next year, but 5 and 10 years from now. And we only get one chance to do this, and the sooner we do it, the more financially stable, the more healthy we are, and the more opportunities we can preserve for our students, not just for next year, but for 10 and 15 years down the road. So I want to bring the board up to date. You asked us to look at the structural options. You don't want us to rush, and you wanted us to look at whether our current structure, that being our 4-building model, still matches our enrollment, our finances, and our staffing, and be real about it. It's our responsibility to the students and our taxpayers to take an honest look at what we're doing. Tonight, it's tough because we're trying to respond to a difficult situation. It's evident that our financial sustainability requires us to structurally change. We're going to talk about whether a 3-building model does work. We're going to talk about the impacts on students, staff, and taxpayers, transportation facilities, all those things, and what we got to continue to verify. So tonight is the start of a conversation, not the end of the conversation. I'm not asking the board to take any vote tonight. I'm simply asking you to listen, gather information, and then at the end of this, you can ask questions if you like, or we're going to potentially have other opportunities to discuss this. So it's an explanation tonight. It is not a final vote. This is informational only, and is for you to use as a guide for future decision making. So what did we look at? We looked at the finances. We looked at budget trends. We looked at the fund balance. We looked at our recurring costs. We looked at the amount of taxes we've been increasing, and we looked at the Act 1 index limits, not just the limits of now, but the limits of in the future, which is actually decreasing. Tracy's nodding, so that's my AI telling me, yes, I'm right. So we looked at our students, we looked at enrollment, we looked at our kindergarten pipeline, which is a very good indicator of our future. We looked at our special education, we looked at our supports programs and things like that. We did look at all of our buildings, so we looked at their capacity. We did a physical walkthrough. Corey and Mary Ellen both did a physical walkthrough of the buildings. We looked at room maps, we looked at cafeterias, we talked about arrivals, transitions, and all those things. Through the operations, we looked at transportation, staffing, labor agreements, our collective bargaining agreements. We looked at utility costs and our overall facility costs. And then we looked at our programs that we give, the electives, the arts, athletics, activities, WOLA, NTCC, and all other student opportunities, and I'll get into that later on. So there's a process. We're both bounded by a process that I feel is transparent and fair, but also we have to meet certain requirements if we ever do make a decision. PA school code requires a mandatory public forum meeting and a public vote, and there needs to be timelines in place. So having the conversation starting now is very important for us. If we are to make any decisions for the 27-28 school year, this is not for August. This is for 27-28. So just to be clear. I just want people to know that this is solely not a financial decision, but it's definitely a student for the family, the students, taxpayers, and the community. So I think one important thing that we have to point out is that we've done a lot of things. We've taken a lot of steps already to address our financial situation. We have definitely developed a lot of budget discipline. We implemented zero-based budgeting this year. We reduced what was potentially a $4 million deficit down to $1.6 million through incredible work by the people behind me and the board in front of me. We reduced everywhere we could. We've reduced over 11 teachers in the last 2 years, which I think is significant. We've reduced support staff in terms of intervention aides, and there's no easy path. You guys voted on a final budget tonight that does reduce our projected deficit significantly, but did not structurally fix where we're going. The district has worked to avoid furloughs. We did have to do 2 recalls, but that is not because of not a position available. We did have positions available. Those people chose not to take or move into those. They still stay on recall status until for 2 years. And we've reduced everywhere we could, but we don't want to weaken the student experience. When you're developing a student, it goes for more than just a classroom. So we've reduced costs already, but the remaining challenge is still structural. So I always think it's a good idea to bring choices, and so we're going to talk about 3 choices tonight. We can absolutely do nothing. We can do absolutely nothing. We can keep our 4-building model the way it is. It's very familiar to us. The financial pressures continue. The future choices become harder. There's still going to be numerous cuts to staff. There's still going to be numerous cuts to experiences. And it still won't correct our financial situation. And we'll be continually meeting every year to constantly talk about our deficit, rather than try to be proactive and look at the future and maybe not have to talk about a deficit every year. Option number 2 is a potential closure of one of our buildings, SRU, and realignment. This would be for 27-28 if the board considers this as an option. We do not have the time to do it now. And the model would be to create a K-4 campus, a 5-8 campus, and a 9-12 campus. We noted that because of doing the physical walkthroughs. The structure would change, the district could protect students' opportunities, and we may right the ship financially, both in the short term and in the long term. Or the third choice is to reduce our opportunities. We can keep all of our buildings, and we can find the equivalent reductions in programs, electives, extracurriculars, staffing, or services. I'll talk about that later, but when I mention extracurriculars, everybody seems to lean right into athletics, but I'm going to be honest with you, when we talk extracurriculars, we need to talk about every extracurricular. That means every opportunity that happens outside of the classroom and every opportunity that is not mandated by PA school code. I just want people to understand that that's the depth of that we'd have to go. I just want to make sure everybody knows it's not about whether we change, it's how we change, because we have to change. So in reading the resolution, I took the opportunity to interpret it as preserving student opportunities, and that should guide the choices that and the data that I collected. What we're going to try to protect is core academic programs, special education, student supports, interventions, counseling, mental health supports. We need to preserve electives where we can, art, music, extracurriculars, and our career pathways, which include things like computer science, FFA, agricultural education, business, college prep, workforce development. NTCC, our career center, is also tied into that. And one thing that I thought about as I was building this is we cannot let excess space crowd out the opportunities for our students and that they need and want. Buildings matter, but the student experience, I think, supersedes buildings. I completely understand, and I don't want people to think that I'm being insincere or callous, but I did have to remove some emotions because there's not a single building that doesn't matter to me more than the other. I know SRU has a lot of memories to people, so do all the other buildings as well, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. But I had to take it from the lens that buildings exist to serve students, and when maintaining more space comes at the expense of student opportunities, then I think the choice is obvious for us. So what are some of the remaining budget pressures that is driving reoccurring costs? I think Tracy hit on this, but it doesn't hurt to help to reinforce that by saying people are our budget. I think 68 or 69% of everything we do is salary and benefits, or everything that we spend our money on, but we're in a human business, and it takes humans to produce humans. And we have to have great staff to create great citizens, and that's why that takes up so much of our budget. In 2024, I used older data because I thought that was more reliable, because it's a moving target until budgets are audited and things like that. We had 31.8 million of our $44.2 million was going to working capital, which is salary and benefits, which is 72 cents out of every dollar we spend. Pension costs are set by the state. We don't have any, we cannot dictate that. We cannot change that. In 26, 27, it's going to be 33.59%. It's pretty much starting to flatline, but 34 cents on top of every salary dollar goes to the state. Now, we do get some of that back. About half of that gets reimbursed back to us through the Commonwealth, but it's still an expense we have to put out first and then get back later. Our transportation rose from 2.01 to 2.6 million in 3 years. That's up about 33%, but I think Mr. Mosier has a clear understanding that we're going to be reducing that. Healthcare, cyber charters, tuition, special education all rise every year regardless of enrollment at a rate the district cannot control, and all figures trace to audited AFRs. So you can go through our AFRs and match that. Our greatest revenue driver is local taxes, and even with strong local effort, we face costs that outpace our ability to generate revenue. So, simply put, it's a recurring problem that needs a recurring solution. If we did nothing, and there's a chart, and I hope I'm not going too fast for everybody, and I hope I'm not going too slow. So thank you to Tracy for building this chart for me, because Excel would have probably blown my brain up, and she did that. She did that pretty well. Thank you, Tracy. So what I asked her to do was, could you help me project, based upon some assumptions, revenue growth of 4%, salary growth at 3%, which is an average, benefit growth at 10%, which is an average of the last few years, operating expenses at 3%, and debt entered biannual schedule, what would happen? If you look at the gold line, you can see our fund balance dwindling to just above 2 million. If we do not do anything, we are going to be in the red by as soon as 28, 29, and at a $7.7 million deficit in 2031. If we do make a change, the change would be to right size our district. We could look at our fund balance going up to about 7.1 million, which would put us in about 8 to 9% of our operating budget, depending on how much everything increases over the years, which would put us in a safety zone for operating capital in case of an emergency. We can absolutely wait this out. We can preserve comfort because change is hard, but it increases our risk of harsher choices later on. So, next thing I want to do is talk about our taxes. Raising taxes alone can't solve our problem. We get about between $250,000 to $260,000 a year per mill that we raise. Just to put that in real numbers, for every $25,000 of assessed value, someone's taxes go up $25. For those on fixed incomes, that's very, very difficult for them. And it adds up quite a bit depending on the size of your home. We are limited how far we can raise taxes by the Act 1 index. These are limited unless we choose to go above the index, which does change our budgeting timelines, which means we can go as high as we want, but at the end of the day, we have to produce a budget by January each year. 1 mill helps. We already carry a very high millage in the Athens Area School District, so I think why Tracy was very hesitant. She's very cognizant of the fact that our millage is extremely high. And just to make the point earlier, our raises in salary and benefits was over $950,000 this year. The highest we can raise in going to the index is about $816. So I think that establishes the problem pretty evidently. To probably not to put the burden on everybody in our community, we do have to take a much more drastic and productive approach to the future. Taxes are only part of the financial picture. We only get a small amount of revenue through the state. I think we got about 300 to 400,000 this year increase. It doesn't help. It does help, but it doesn't fix the problem. Let's take a look at enrollment. So we have to take a cautious approach when we look at enrollment. Over the years, if you went back 10 or 15 years, even back to 2016, even back to 2014, our enrollment was significantly higher. I just looked back at the last 5 years. We've hovered around 2,000. We did have 22, 23 bump up into 2,100. 23, 24, we did bounce below 2,000. We used this through the October 1 enrollment counts. I actually also gathered our May enrollment counts to just average that out. So while these numbers are averages, these are pretty accurate. We hover around the 2,000 mark. Therefore, we're not anticipating a surge, a growth, anything that needs us to expand or build more space. I think our enrollment is starting to flatline, if not start to decline. So we have to be a little bit more cautious in our planning and not planning around future surges and building growth. Pretty straightforward on that. So just to hit the point home, we started having this conversation actually a few years ago. If you look at our kindergarten enrollment specifically, our largest cohort was in 2022. We had 165 students. And this year, in the last 2 years, 25 and 26, our kindergarten enrollment is 138 and 133. As of June 10th, our kindergarten enrollment is 107. I know that's significantly lower. We don't anticipate that to be the final number. We do have one more enrollment period in July, and we typically gather about 10% more, 8 to 10%. So we might settle somewhere around 115 to 120. So it's still going to be much lower than we anticipate an average. We are typically averaging classes about 150, and I think we graduated 160, 151. Okay. So that's about our average. So we're starting to trend lower. So we can't just count seats. That'd be simple. A building has to work in a school day, work for all students and staff, and we absolutely anticipate that our buildings are going to be closer to capacity full, but not completely full. One of our challenges in this will be special education. They require specific space within a specific area, ebb and flow, square footage requirements, which kind of makes some of our challenges greater. So when we start talking about moving to a 3-building model, is it possible that it is, but with some caveats. We still have to, while we did an actual physical walkthrough, and we confirmed that we can create a model of K to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, there are some things we still need to vet. It has to be proven functional, not just mathematical. Mathematically, it's absolutely possible. Functionally, we may need to do some creative things to make it work, which includes possibly some portables for a period of time. And if we did not have to meet IDEA, Chapter 4, Chapter 14 requirements, we may be okay, but creating space for student services and special education students created a little bit of a boondoggle, but nothing that we couldn't, if we needed to move to a 3-building model, nothing we couldn't overcome. So when you look at a 3-building model where we eliminate SRU and keep Lynch, Harlan Row Middle School, and the Athens area high school, first of all, we'll create very familiar grade spans. This is a common grade span in some school districts. It's not practically every district, but it is common in some school districts. For example, I know a local school district in Tioga County where this is the model they have, Wellsboro. So they are K to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12. So this would be what we would anticipate in 27, 28 to be our working student enrollments in those buildings. If you used our Alloy 5 study, we would stay under full capacity based upon that study where they studied our buildings, told us our capacity, and so we will still way below. With it, I think Lynch being the most full at 92%, and the other buildings being the high 80s, close to 90%. In K to 4, we would focus on the foundations of learning, literacy, numeracy. We would then, have more space for interventions, support, and belonging. I always think that's important. This is the middle school being 5 to 8. We would talk about a bridge transition. We would create some structures that would create some academies, a lower academy and upper academy, where we would keep students in grade spans apart. And we'll try to talk about that a little bit later. But I think within that building, it works very, very well to create a lower academy where we keep grades 4 and 5 kind of in their own school within a school, and grades 7 and 8, or 6, 4, or 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8 in 2 separate academies. I apologize. And that would allow for some creative use of our staff. It would allow those students to flow independently of each other, and it's a pretty common model that we've seen in other school districts. In fact, we kind of employed something like this, a school within a school at the high school several years ago, when we kind of separated ninth grade into a specific wing of the building. And then we would look at the high school 9 through 12 as being the hub of opportunity. Marianne loves the word hub, so I'm going to say it lots and lots of times. So this is where our kids get to have career explorations. They get to do their electives, AP, dual enrollment, and all those things. So very important to think about. So I think families are probably going to want to know, would class sizes go up? So with this model, we plan on class sizes in K-1 to be around 20. Now, this all has to, be vetted at the end of the day. You can't predict enrollment from year to year, and students come and go. So we're looking to be around 20, hopefully below 20. Grades 2 to 4 between 22 and 24, hopefully closer to the 22 range. I think that's what we planned on. But we do want to give ourselves a relatively realistic buffer. Grades 5 and 6 be 24 to 26, grades 7 and 8, 26 to 28. And then at the high school, classes of 30 are understandable, with the exception of some electives and limitations based upon equipment, materials, and lab sizes. Would my child keep the same teacher? That's always an obvious question. That would have to come after the board direction. We would do enrollment verifications. We would have to do some contracts. Obviously, we'd have to talk about staffing, which comes up in a future slide. How would along with the bus ride be? Actually, this actually creates opportunities for us to create specific grade band buses. It may shorten bus routes. It may minimize some of our busing needs by not having to have transfer buses, buses specifically going to one building, which we do now. We would have to do a little bit more in-depth study to know the actual how long they would be on a bus. But my anticipation, if we did it right, our elementary students might be on the bus for less time, even though they might be coming from farther away. It would be a much more direct route. What would the first day look like? No different than any other first day. Lots of family information. We'd have lots of communication and family supports. For those that are unfamiliar with any of the buildings, we would do orientations. So that'll be part of our implementation plan. We still have to verify a lot of stuff: staffing, maps, schedules, lunch, recess, special education, traffic flow, arrival and dismissal, how that will flow just with more people coming in and out. So we're definitely going to make it be a plan that works for children and not just for the math or the spreadsheets that we're looking at right now. And to be honest, it will impact our employees, and I think they deserve the clarity and respect in the process as well. Would people lose jobs? No staffing decisions are being made tonight. However, we would try to use attrition, reassignment, retirement incentives, and vacancy suppression where possible. For example, we have several custodial positions that went unfilled throughout the year in other buildings, and we could backfill them if we reduced a building. Will there be furloughs? Yeah, there definitely could be a possibility for that, and I would probably put that, if I had to do a percentage, close to 100%, unless we have some wonderful ERI, which is an early retirement incentive that allowed a lot of people to go. Would assignments change? Without question, assignments will change based upon their certification, classification, seniority, and all the labor agreements that we will work within. And we do a really good job by partnering. We had to go through this already this year. We brought the president and vice president of the union for the teachers, AAEA, and they sat at the table and they helped vet and discuss the process. Student needs will guide our process. required services, the CBAs, and we'll do our best to have clear communication throughout the process. What will be protected? Student services, IEP supports, supervision, program student needs, and such. When will the staff know? As soon as we start making final decisions and we start planning the process, we'll start communicating immediately and have plenty of time before 27-28 school year comes to fruition if a change is made. Just to reiterate, you know, we're looking at these class sizes. I think it's important to hit these one more time. You know, I've always really tried to lean into smaller class sizes. If you look across the region, our class sizes are relatively small. In some areas, we have classes in K1 that are as small as 14 or 15. Some are close to 20. It varies greatly. We would definitely create a little bit more consistent model in terms of class sizes. These are not outside of averages. I do think the national average in K1 is 19.3, so we're right there. We might be a little larger, but we do know that there are regions where the classes are in K1 as high as 26 to 27. So we did try to look around to see how that plays out. And again, I just want to be very, very clear. These are planning targets, not final guarantees if we do move to a 3-building model. So we've got to do a lot of verifying. The walkthrough supported our continued planning. That was a very important thing. I did not do that myself because I didn't want my bias to be of making this work be implemented. That's why I did send Mr. Mosier and Mrs. Rhodes out to do those verifications. They had no invested interest in this other than to collect the data. There are a lot of things we can discuss about supporting the classrooms K-4. I think some things that we might have to consider is having what is called portable classrooms for a period of time. This would be a situation where just to meet all of our needs with special education. We couldn't put students in special education out there, obviously, right, Mr. Mosier? But we could shift specials out there or other things. So it does take a little bit of planning. And even Kyle and Tracy didn't know that until we just had that conversation on Thursday. So that's a newer development. So I just wanted to give you guys a look at Lynch. We do have a plan in place of how we would organize the building K through 4 for flow and for ease to keep grade levels together. One thing that we're not mentioning that I want to make very clear, another very important aspect of moving to a 3-building model will be the consistency and fidelity of application among grade bands for curriculum, instruction, and assessment. I think that's been a very important topic of ours, is staying consistent among grade level teachers. I think that'll be a very important piece, an academic benefit as well. Harlan Row, it'll be a great natural bridge. The building actually aligns very well to be a 5 to 8 building. It will be relatively full, but not, like I said, in the high 80 percentile. It already functions as our middle school setting. I think if we developed an upper and lower academy where we put 5 and 6 together and 7 and 8 together, it would operate dependently and independently at the same time, allowing those cohorts to work together and flow pretty seamlessly throughout that building. It also keeps opportunities and actually expands opportunities for students grade 5 through 8 because we did not eliminate any space. So there's still an FFA room, a STEM room, art, science, planetarium, all those things are still there and will be used. Like I said, the high school is really where the opportunities will be out there. This would protect a lot of the opportunities and experiences. I think if we went into a situation where we would eliminate opportunities, the high school model would be the most impacted. But I think every child K through 12 would be impacted greatly by moving to the third option. But we can talk about that. Again, here's a long list: electives, arts, music, ag, tech, career pathways, the NTC, WOLA, which is our online academy, which is K to 12, athletics, activities, clubs, student leadership, advanced courses, dual enrollment, AP, all those things are still going to be preserved. The high school model could be protected from cuts and caused by excess space. I think the goal ultimately is to avoid a future where the district keeps the space but loses programs and what we value as a Wildcat education. I think as students leave our district, they are very proud of the fact that they leave with lots of opportunities. And if I've learned anything by going out and talking to alumni, They talk very rarely about the buildings, but they talk about the opportunities they've had that made them who they are and had contributed to their success in one fashion or another. It's not always the teachers, sometimes it's the coaches or advisors as well. And sometimes it's just being part of something like FBLA that turns them into being a business person, a successful business person as well. All of that data came from Alloy 5, and when we did our merger feasibility study, they did a building condition study. So special education is a requirement, not an option. I do want to hit on that. Classrooms must be appropriate, instructional spaces must be accessible, they need to be near normal school activity, we call that ebb and flow. They can't be at the end of a hallway, they can't be in a basement, they can't be in the attic, they have to be next to a regular education classroom. Don't laugh, people wonder, all right? And they have to have at least 28 square feet per student. And then some of those classrooms have limits to how many students can be in those classrooms. So we do emotional support, we do autistic support, we do life skills, we have regular learning support, we have speech, OT, PT, we have counselors, we also have to have confidential meeting spaces. Placement and services are driven by each student's IEP, that's their individualized education plan, not simply by building convenience. So if it's written into the IEP, we have to make sure it happens. So if we plan for 27, 28, we have to consider all of the IEP restrictions as well. Transportation savings are real, but we must estimate them conservatively. So thank you to Tracy and Corey. It cost us $641,000 to transport students just to SRU. We get about 75% of that back, so conservatively we would net about $100,000. We still would need to do some detailed route mapping to determine pickup times, routing, duration, all those things, which we will do. And then we would have a more accurate number in the savings. So I'm very conservative on that, but I think that was one of the things that came up in the conversation. Staffing savings must be handled responsibly. If staffing changes are needed, which they will, I'm just trying to reiterate, we need to use attrition, reassignment, retirement incentives first, and vacancy suppression where possible. Building-based costs are administrative, office, custodial, cafeteria, site-based. Operational staffing can create clear saving opportunities. So for us, there's a lot of staff that support our students. Student-based services, obviously teachers, aides, special education, and all those related services. And then some implementation guardrails. We would have to work through seniority, certification statuses, assignment rules, work schedules, CBAs, and all of those other things. So the choice is what we value and beyond. A full Wildcat education or space, which we can no longer sustain. Every building we keep carries operational costs, not only for today, but capital costs for tomorrow. What does a space cost us? It costs us utilities, maintenance, custodial, site operations every year. It costs us future capital needs, ADA and code requirements. So if we ever touched a building for renovation, it would need to be brought up to code, which could be extremely expensive. In our most recent facility analysis, a renovation to SRU, so if we did any touches to that, bringing it up to code and bringing it up to ADA requirements would cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $29 to $32 million in one of the scenarios. I'm not using that as a final number, but in one of the renovation scenarios, it would be at least $30 million on average. If a building is closed later, the board can preserve the future options. You can sell it, you can lease it, you could repurpose it. It has value, not significant value. We're not capturing millions and millions of dollars out of it as we did when we, in 2012 and 13, when you went from 7 facilities to 4, you sold Ulster and you sold Gladys Burnham. And I think Ulster was sold for about $250,000 or $260,000, and I think Gladys Burnham was about $90,000. And I could be off by $10,000 or $15,000. So I wouldn't look at that as a windfall. If SRU is closed, the future of the property would be a part of the public process. We could sell it, we could lease it, you could do anything you want with it. You don't want it to sit and decline. You do want to make it useful. You don't want to keep the utilities on at the minimum so that no pipes freeze and things like that. So that part would have to be part of our discussion. Option 3 is real, but it's not enough by itself. I think, just so you know, so a lot of our extracurriculars and things like that are kind of worked into our building budgets, and we'll continue to work on that, netting out all the costs, but just, and if you look at our 3200s, in 24-25, we had about 948,000 in our 3200s, which is athletics and some extracurriculars. Is that right, Tracy? Yeah, okay, good. In 2021, it was about 730,000. It grew quite a bit, but we had some expenses that we were trying to take care of in 24-25, if I recall. We did bring that down significantly, almost $100,000 for 26 and 27. I do want to point out that PA law requires planned instruction, art, music, health, and physical education, and family and consumer sciences. But I do want to point out in the elementary grades, elementary certified teachers can deliver much of that instruction. Not ideal, but it is not, you don't have to have a specialized teacher for those. But the requirement to provide them remains. Right now we provide that through our specials. If we looked at eliminating every sport club activity, it would save us around $1 million a year or a little bit over, but it would deeply change the student experience, and I don't think it would be a long-term solution. So just doing some math, and thank you to Tracy to providing some of this, most of this, okay, all of it, I'm not gonna lie. This estimate focuses on recurring building and building-based costs. Just closing SRU would net us about $970,000 identified annual costs. So building operations, custodian, office and admin, and identified impact would be conservative, and that's not talking about professional staff. This money comes back to us every year if SRU continues to operate as a fourth instructional building. We still have to verify all those numbers, but I think they're a pretty accurate estimation. We'll know more after we complete our October audit. So, just circling back and trying to wrap up without putting you all to sleep, we must be clear about what changes and what does not. So, we could do nothing. What changes? The financial pressure grows and the future cuts are likely. What does not change? The four-building structure remains. If we potentially close one of our buildings, that being SRU, building assignments would change, grade spans would change. What doesn't change? Students remain in Athens. The goal is to preserve the opportunities, which would be preserved. Option 3, keep all the buildings and reduce those opportunities. Programs would change, staff would change, extracurriculars would change, and supports would definitely be reduced. Because I'm also talking about counseling and mental health supports when we talk about those other options as well. What doesn't change is, again, the four-building structure. So we have to understand, and I think everyone deserves to understand the trade-offs. It's not just a recommendation. I think we have to understand what the trade-off is. So tonight, would love some direction or verification. If not, we can talk about this at a later date. But I wanted to make sure that this gives you direction. We continue verifying and having public engagement, not to vote tonight, not to close a building tonight. We still need to do a room-by-room functional capacity map. We still have to look at our special education planning. We'll start looking at our staffing, but you know, we're pretty good at that, knowing that we kind of did a similar process this year. We'd have to study our transportation routes. We would have to look at what a portable or temporary space would cost us, hone in on operating costs of SRU and what that ultimately saves us, update our financial model projections, and formally publicly go through this process with the public and with solicitor's review. So just to give people an idea of the process, tonight I am giving you guys the information. I'm handing the ball over to you. I did plan 2 community Q&A sessions. Those are tentative based upon board feedback if they want me to go through with that. I would like to do them on July 6th and August 3rd, just simply out of selfishness. That's a month apart, giving planning and working around the schedule that I have. If given direction, we would work through the summer to do some of this verification process. In September, if the board would like to have a formal public hearing, we would have to have a 15-day ahead advertisement. That public hearing has to happen 90 days before a formal vote. That formal vote would happen in December, which could change the outcome or structure of our district. So I just wanted to be clear about the process for everybody. And this is all per the school code, Pennsylvania subsection 24-7-780. If anyone has questions, they can obviously submit them through me, or there is a portal on that website. So we don't have to make a final decision until December. I think the process has started in plenty of time. We're not rushing anything. I think the data has been in front of us a long time. I think it's just taking the time for us to sit down and look at it from the lens of opportunities versus space. Again, I'll close with the return to the same three choices because these are the only three decisions we really can make. We do nothing. We potentially look at one of the closures of SRU and reduce opportunities. Those are the three options. The responsible path is the one that best preserves student opportunity and serves our community, who are the people that fund our school district. Okay, so that pretty much sums up everything that I've brought to the table tonight. I know that was a lot. I know it's 30 slides. I apologize for the length, but I thought we'd had to go through a lot of that. And I didn't mean to sound redundant, but I think it's necessary to repeat things where necessary. I don't know if you have questions tonight. You might have to think through some things. Some of the questions have already come to me, like sell this building. Right now, we absolutely could sell the admin building, but I think we got this at a price point that was significantly reduced in terms of doing a renovation. We created space for our students by moving out of the high school. We could move into the basement, but I think any renovation costs would far exceed the cost of this, what we could develop or gain in revenue from this building, but that's the board's discretion. Someone did bring to me, why didn't we close Harlan Row and move middle school out to SRU? That's a great thought. I think where the cost efficiencies come from is when we have a singular campus. There's a lot more efficiencies when you bring services together versus keeping a building significantly farther away. It creates more logistical costs, operational costs, and utilization costs. So those are just a couple of the questions that came to me as of now. What's the long-term goal was another question. The long-term goal is financial stability while preserving opportunities. I think when I look at what I'm very proud of our district is that students walk out with, in a rural school as ours, with opportunities to do real things and become great citizens. So I know that sounds a little bit hokey pokey, but truthfully, when you talk to kids, they don't talk about the building, they talk about the teachers that they've had and the opportunities that they were given. So if you guys have questions, I'll try to answer them. If I do not know the answer, I will get back to you, and we can talk about them in July.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Stage. Any questions from the board for Dr. Stage on those items?
I don't have any tonight. I have to think about it, but I'll have questions.
Thank you.
Was the numbers for the grade span counts, the
Yeah.
638 for 9 through 12, was that considering the students that also go to the NTC as well?
Yeah, it keeps it about the same as what our students are now, and it does incorporate those students be there for half a day.
Okay, I'm sure there'll be more questions coming your way. Dr.
Yeah, that's
Stage.
fine, and I think that's, I'll probably ask for some direction later
Yeah.
in terms of, public Q&A sessions. I just want to gather information. This data was easily gatherable, and I'll probably try to create some citation lists or some fact sheets for people as we move forward.
Oh,
Yeah.
Here I have another question.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Chris.
Sorry.
No, it's
The,
okay.
kindergarten cohort,
Yeah.
the dates you had below, were those the final? They do say May, or were those as of May?
Yeah, so they're the average between our October 1 counts and May, and I may have put May in there just to make sure that we were using most recent, but I did average the October 1, which is our official count that we submit to PDE, but I also used our May enrollment because they do fluctuate, and then I tried to average those together.
Okay.
You're welcome. Any other questions, guys? Okay.
All right, thank you. Yes,
Thank you.
although there's no formal board action tonight, we do ask that you do continue the, verification and the planning the public engagement as
Okay.
recommended, and then we'll
Yeah.
revisit next time.
Yeah, we'll
Thank you.
continue to work on that if that's where you guys are.
Will those public engagements be advertised?
You ju- Yeah, we'll advertise those. They'll be here. It's not something that the board has to attend. It's probably just me answering. I'll be probably taking questions and not giving a lot of answers. If I don't have, I'm not going to just bluster my way through. If there's a question that I can't answer, I'm simply going to say, I'll get back to you, and then we'll find a public resource to put those questions and answers out on. But I think engaging the public is an important part of the process.
That's a very good idea. Thank you, Dr. Stage.
Yep.
All right, next on the agenda is our visitor comments. Do we have any visitor comments this evening? Okay, so next on the agenda, we have our board communications that don't require any vote, as typical. So you'll see some personnel transfers, field trip requests, foreign exchange student requests, weekend facility use reports, and our enrollment across the district. That next brings us to board discussion items. Do we have any discussion items this evening? Okay, so our next meeting is next month, July 21st, here at the admin office. As of now, that will start at 7 o'clock with no committees planned for this time. We do not have a need for executive session since we had one prior. So with that, we'll take a motion and a second to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
All right, adjourned. Thank you.
I just sent you, it was, I don't know, I was looking up the law and I saw that, it's an older one, I don't know if you saw that. But, okay. But it was, I was looking through it, I was like, oh, that's gonna be,